When it comes to affordable watches, I feel like everybody's kind of looking for the same thing, right? They're all looking for a watch that looks more expensive than it actually is. And that's why today we're talking about 10 watches that look way more expensive than they actually are. Welcome back to the Chisholm Hunter channel. My name is Harrison, as always. And with Christmas just past, my wallet, and I'm sure everybody else's wallet, is kind of screaming at them. We spent all our money on Christmas presents, and now the affordability aspect of watches is shining that little bit brighter. So let's kick straight into this video with the Citizen Tiosa, I honestly can never get it right. I'm dyslexic and I have ADHD, and the word looks like this. I'll put it on the screen at the moment. Don't know how you say it, but you guys get it. The Citizen Tiosa kind of looks like a hybrid between a Tissot PRX and a Tissot Gentleman. And it honestly is really aesthetically appealing, especially with those big, bold colors in which you have tons to choose between. The case diameter comes in at a pretty perfect 40 millimeters, and because it doesn't have a crown that protrudes that much, it kind of wears true to size. It comes in full stainless steel. Now, the dial color that I've chosen out today is the light blue because I think that is absolutely beautiful, but there are tons of different variations and dial colors to choose between. It has sapphire crystal glass, a fully automatic movement, and 50 meters of water resistance. It also has a date window at the 3 o'clock mark, and honestly, I just think this is a really good everyday wearer for an affordable price. Citizen have been doing really cool stuff recently, especially with their super titanium, for an example. This comes in at £299, which isn't cheap. £300 almost is a lot of money, but it looks so much more expensive than it actually is. It's a little bit like the Tissot PRX. It just acts bigger than it is. It acts more mature than it really is. Next on the list is a brand that I've never spoken about and a brand that I've gone down a total rabbit hole with. This is the MHD Daily Diver Panda. Now, I've got a soft spot for UK designers and UK-based watch brands purely because the industry is dominated by the Swiss, and secondly, I am from the UK. Now, MHD watches are designed in the UK by an automotive designer, Matthew Humphreys. And Matthew, at 21, was made the chief designer at Morgan Motor Company. The brand was established in 2014, and since then, they released some absolutely sexy looking watches. This watch comes in at 40 millimeters in diameter, 12 millimeters in depth, and 47 millimeters lug to lug. The case is made completely out of 316L stainless steel, and it has a sapphire crystal glass with anti-reflective coating. It has a black DLC coated bezel insert with vintage Luminova markers, so they look that little bit more faded. Now, the dial on this watch is really where it comes to life for me. White dials, I'm a sucker for white dials. They're just super, super sexy. And this white dial, the matte white, against those chronograph markers and also against the kind of more tanned numerals, it just looks great. Plus, the contrast with that black bezel insert, it's good. Now, it does have a red leather rally strap because obviously it's a racing watch technically. It's a car designer that's gone into watches, so that kind of makes sense. That's not for me personally, but I do like the color combination with the red, or the more kind of darkened red with the whites and the black of the bezel. It kind of works in tandem, but I'm not that big a fan of leather straps. With that said, you can't deny that this watch just looks more expensive than it actually is, especially at the moment because it's on sale. This isn't a plug. Chisholm Hunter do not stock these watches. This is just an enthusiast talking about the watches, and they are on sale at the moment. So typically speaking, they're at £595, but at the moment they're at £495. Plus, you do get a Seiko movement in this watch, which is the Seiko VK64 hybrid Mecha Quartz chronograph movement. Now, next on the list is the Hamilton Khaki Field Murph. Now, I'm going to say there's around 4 variations of this watch that have launched now. You have the original GOAT, the OG Murph. You then have the Murph Mini. You then have the white Murph Mini, and also the Murph Mini with the bracelet. Now, since its release, and I've actually said and spoken about this in another video, the Murph has kind of amalgamated and transformed into its own little subgenre of the khaki field range. I feel like they should remove the khaki field bit from the name of this watch and just call it the Murph and have the Murph family, because it's that goddamn sexy. Let's just talk about the white dial, Murph, because you know me, I'm a sucker for white dials. And also, I think this watch just looks so much more expensive than it actually is. So, of course, it comes in full stainless steel. It comes in at 38 millimeters in diameter, which is that Goldilocks size for most people in the industry nowadays. It comes in at 11.1 millimeters in thickness. It has the caliber H10 movement, and that has 80 hours of power. It is also water resistant to 100 meters. It comes with a leather strap. The hour markers in the hands are in a really tanned color, and obviously this is because of the movie Interstellar. If you haven't seen it, definitely watch it. It's one of my favorite movies in the world. And the fact that they incorporate the concept of time and the watch plays such a key role in the movie is just unbelievable. This watch in total comes in at £865. So it is, I mean, in luxury watch terms, I know it's not cheap, but in the luxury watch industry, actually that is quite affordable. And it also looks more expensive than it is. The next watch we have on the list is another brand that I didn't really know of, or I didn't really do my research of until this video, and then I kind of, again, went down a rabbit hole. You guys are making me spend so much money on watches, because you keep bringing new things to my attention. It's like the dog that you put another toy in front of it, and it goes to that toy, and then you put another toy, and it just goes, and it can't prioritize which one it actually wants. This is the Croft Pioneer Automatic. Now, you do have a bunch of sexy dial colors to choose between, but just look at this watch for a second. This looks so expensive, and it's only £265. This watch is a little bit more chunky. It comes in at 42 millimeters in diameter, 47 millimeters lug to lug, and 12 millimeters in thickness. It has a sapphire crystal glass with anti-reflective coating, and it comes in full stainless steel, as well as that bracelet coming in stainless steel as well. The movement in this watch is the Seiko NH35 automatic movement, so it is fully automatic. It has 41 hours of power, beats at 21,600 VPH, comes with 24 jewels, and also has a date display tightly tucked into the 3 o'clock mark. This watch aesthetically is just absolutely gorgeous. It's a very like Instagrammable watch. It's a very photographer orientated watch. I feel like that's the vibe that I get here. I love the color variations. I love that it's a small, more independent brand. It's not a huge conglomerate. And I love the fact, of course, it looks expensive. Next on the list is a brand that I preach about all the time, but I'm going to keep preaching about it until it sinks into people's brain how great this brand is, because they don't get enough attention in the industry. They're very much overshadowed by the Tissot PRXs of the world, or maybe Longines if you go up a price bracket. It is the Certina DS Action Diver GMT. Now, you do have a couple of variations to choose between of this watch. In particular, you have around about 3. I'm pretty sure it's 3. You have a red and blue bezel, you have a green and black bezel, and you have kind of a browny black bezel as well. Now, I took these watches to Iceland in 2024. I took these watches to Iceland, all 3 of them, and I wore them for 2 weeks non-stop, filming them and getting awesome shots with them over the Icelandic highlands and Icelandic cliffs and all that kind of stuff. And it wore so well. It honestly was the tool watch that got me through that trip. And it is so, in my opinion, worth the money. This watch comes in at 41 millimeters. Now, of course, it is a GMT model, so it reads multiple time zones at the one time. It comes in at 13.8 millimeters in height, and between those lugs, you have about 20 millimeters. It has sapphire crystal glass, it's water resistant to 200 meters, it has the Powermatic 80 movement with 80 hours of power. We can see that throughout the Swatch group because they own ETA, which supplies the movement, so it's all kind of in-house. And overall, it comes in at £1,040. That is for the green and black bezel with the stainless steel bracelet. I just feel like Certina in the industry are often overshadowed, and they're great watches, and people should definitely try them on. It might not be for you, but they're definitely one to consider. The next watch that I'm going to talk about is one that you might kill me for. It was a controversial one, for sure. It's the Omega Moonswatch. Now, I'm not going to dwell on this too much because everybody knows about the Omega Moonswatch, and I don't even know how many of they've released now. But on initial impact, on initial launch, about two and a half years ago, can you guys remember how huge this was? You had people lining up overnight, queuing overnight, just to get their eyes on this watch, just to film this watch, just to buy this watch. They were flipping online or the secondary market for thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds. It was bizarre, but it's all because they actually did look brilliant. Now, it is a Swatch watch. You're never going to get the quality of an Omega Speedmaster in a Swatch watch because you're not paying the price for the premium. But aesthetically, it looks great. Now, these watches come in at £240, and yeah, when they were on the pre-owned market or when they were being flipped, I saw one going for like £3,000. It was bizarre, but they look a lot more expensive than they are. And they also, because of the amount of hype that went into them, agree or disagree with it, it got new people into the industry. It got new collectors, new enthusiasts into the industry. And I like that. Okay, so next on the list is the Orient Bambino 38mm small seconds. It actually doesn't come in at 38mm, it comes in at 38.4mm. But who's counting? It also comes in at 44mm lug to lug, and it has a thickness of 12mm. It has a fully automatic Orient F6222 movement with 22 jewels, and it has 40 hours of power reserve. This is the dressier of the watches that we're going to go over today, and although I don't always agree or always like leather straps, I do have to give them credit for it looking aesthetically pretty brilliant. I also love the small seconds complication. I feel like it adds a degree of elegance to your watch, it adds a degree of class to your watch, and this is what this watch kind of oozes. If I saw this watch at a dinner, let's say a charity dinner, where we're all in black ties, I would instantly think it was thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds because of the dressy element to it, and that makes it part of this list because the price of it only comes in at £287.99. Don't ask me why they have a 99 on there. Why didn't they make it £300 or £299.99? Because I have no idea, but that's the price of it, and it does look more expensive. Up next is another brand that I didn't really know until this video. And I feel like that's going to be my 2025 thing. I want to get more into these micro brands and stop talking as much about the big boys, because we all know about the big boys, but not as many of us know about the small boys. This is the Selten M1 Moonphase, and look at the minimalist design on this. Look at it. It's weirdly bizarre. I mean, it doesn't have any hour markers or anything, but it looks cool. Okay, so the cool thing that I figured out about this watch is the dial is actually in what they call Moso Black. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. I'll put the pronunciation or the spelling up on the screen. But essentially, this is one of the darkest artificial substances on Earth, and it absorbs up to 99.4% of light. And that matched with minimal reflections on the dial just makes this dial look like a black hole. I mean, we talked about Interstellar yesterday. It literally looks like the black hole from Interstellar. It's really quite weird. The case diameter of this watch comes in at 39mm. Again, we're hitting around about that Goldilocks size that everyone loves and knows. The lug to lug comes in at 45.5mm. The thickness comes in at 11.4mm. And the movement in this watch is a modified Miyota 9015 automatic movement. It comes in full stainless steel as well as the bracelet. And overall, this watch just looks really futuristic. But I like what got me was the materials that they used on the dial and the fact that it absorbs that much light. I really like that link, and the link to space, the link to dark, and the minimalist clean look. It looks like an Apple iPhone when they first brought them out. It was so minimalist. It just kind of worked. Now, this watch typically comes in at £856, but as of today, it's actually on discount. It's discounted. It comes in at £734. I don't know where they're getting these prices from. I don't know why they don't just make them a round number. It's really weird. Moving on to the next watch on the list, we have the Maen Hudson 38mm MK4. This watch comes in at 38mm in diameter, 12.05mm in thickness. That's including the glass, and the lug to lug comes in at 46mm. It, of course, comes in full stainless steel. It does have a domed sapphire crystal, so that does add a little bit to the thickness. And it has the Selita SW200-1, which is a Swiss-made movement. With that said, it is a mass-produced movement. Again, this watch looks very clean in aesthetic. It looks like a lot of other dive watches out there, I'm not going to lie. They all kind of replicate the Rolex Submariner look. But you can't deny that it looks more expensive than it actually is. Now, this watch in euros, because weirdly the website is in euros, comes in at 639 euros. So it's around about the 600 or 580 quid mark. And I do think it just looks a lot better, a lot more expensive than it actually is. And on that note, thank you guys so much for watching. If you have enjoyed, please hit that subscribe button or follow our Instagram at Chisholm Hunter Watches, or my Instagram at HB Lifelens, or our podcast, the Into the Mind podcast. And I'll see you guys real soon.